Alrighty everyone, welcome back. We are now getting closer to the official release of Mission Impossible 7 Dead Reckoning Part 1, which by the way we've talked about this several times, about how it's literally going to pause the entire box office return rate for Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, and exactly how Disney is in a state of panic about what's going on with that. Now aside from this, we know that there's a lot of things going on with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Star Wars franchise, and a whole lot more over at Disney, as well as Lucasfilm as a whole. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into exactly what's going on here, specifically with the Star Wars franchise. Now, we know that there's a lot of things going on right now between the current roadmap of Star Wars films and the TV shows. It's a very big mess because of the writer's strike and Disney's lack of vision, and how Bob Iger, must I add, really needs to be replaced, as well as Kathleen Kennedy, as soon as possible. They really have to figure out exactly where they are going with all of these different directions for the MCU, for Star Wars, and just for their regular Disney films. They have to cut out all the nonsense and really just focus on pure entertainment that's going to gravitate toward their audience, you know, the true fans out there. Now, dwindling back down to, of course, what's going on with something specific that I think is going to create a bigger backlash than that of The Last Jedi on a grand scale that's going to make 2017 look very small. Alright, so let's get right into this. Now, with Bob Iger and the board now in a very big shakeup after the release of Indy 5 and its box office failure, however, it's noted that one of the big plans by Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland, since the Acolyte spin-off show is still a go, is that both Kennedy and Leslye actually met up with actress Brie Larson weeks ago for her to turn to the Star Wars franchise and to take the role of Maeve again. A failed concept for the Acolyte main show that is now being revisited for the Acolyte spin-off series. However, Kennedy and Leslye are in the process of hiring Brie Larson for the Acolyte spin-off show that is set to make her a new chosen one, so to speak, to take over the prophecy of Anakin Skywalker, essentially. Now, on top of this, additionally, the main reason why Kennedy turned to Brie Larson for the Acolyte show and its spin-off is that they are very close, surprisingly, through Kevin Feige, and Kennedy has always wanted to give Brie a role in the Star Wars franchise. Now, additionally, Kennedy also wanted to choose, specifically Brie Larson, to become a new chosen one for the High Republic's time, to be a forgotten legacy that will overshine Anakin's legacy in the upcoming Star Wars show that is currently in the works. Now guys, let me pause here for a second. Now, this is typical Kathleen Kennedy nonsense. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago, about how this Acolyte spin-off is still a go, it's still moving forward, it is a thing that is happening still, unfortunately but true, and Leslye Headland's The Acolyte is still slated for that April of 2024 release window. It could be a little bit later than that, but that's what they're overall, aiming for. The problem that I have with this, and I think a lot of fans are going to have a very big issue with this, is that not only is Brie Larson a very unlikable actress and person, but she's not suited for Star Wars, period, the end, and she never will be. And I've brought this up numerous times, that the Marvels is quite possibly going to be the biggest bomb of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I believe so, 110%. I don't believe it's going to go anywhere, and I would like to hear your opinion on that, your take on that below in the comments. But what's interesting about this, even all the more so, is that we have a lot of things going on, specifically with Kathleen Kennedy really doubling down on this High Republic era of the Star Wars franchise, and how she is really trying to give Leslye Headland this side of Star Wars that'll be treated as her own universe, in a sense, that's completely, distant from John and Dave, even though it's all still interconnected. They basically want to have Leslye Headland focusing on High Republic content and live action material. That's basically what it really all dwindles down to, and the fact that they really are embracing Brie Larson to become a part of this role as the new Chosen One to overshine Anakin's legacy, it goes to show you that they really have no care in the world about George Lucas, about the prequel trilogy films, about the originals, whatever have you. They really have no care in the world about any of that, and they are just really strictly doubling down on everything related to, you know, really just distancing and diverting away from anything George Lucas. Now, moving onwards. Now, since both Kevin Feige and Kathleen Kennedy are very good friends that actually discussed this together on slowly transferring Brie from the MCU into the Star Wars franchise, starting off with Leslye Headland's The Acolyte as a cameo, but that failed. So this is why they are giving her a big chance with the spin-off show to serve as an origin story of a Jedi god named Maeve, who will be the true Chosen One prophecy. Those like George Lucas, Jon Favreau, and Dave Filoni are 100% against this approach, and have even raised their concerns over the development involving Kennedy's take on this character, and letting Leslye Headland, executive of course, produce the entire thing and the entire universe, essentially, that they're focusing for the High Republic, as well as writing the entire thing and this entire character, and letting Leslye Headland, of course, execute the entire idea as well. The plan is to actually release this sometime by 2025, that is highly dependent on the writer's strike and where that all leads. Now, I've said this numerous times too. When you look at stuff like The Acolyte, it's going to be a very big failure. I call it the Hackolyte, to be honest, because basically it has nothing to do with George's vision. It lacks the true spirit of Star Wars, and it has nothing to do with anything that fans grew up with. And Leslye Headland, and I've pointed this out several times, is a proven fake fan. Alright, we've talked about this, about how she said if you are expecting George Lucas in the room, then you're a misogynist, stuff like that. It just goes to show you how out of touch with reality Leslye Headland really is. So when you look at someone like Brie Larson, alright, I've pointed this out several times, Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Brie Larson, they're basically almost one in the same. It's why they're so unlikable both in Captain Marvel and in Indiana Jones 5, alright? And they're very similar. A lot of people like to call Phoebe Waller-Bridge like the new Brie Larson, essentially. And, you know, almost anything that Brie Larson has been in has been very controversial or has been a flop. I mean, look at what happened with Fast X. Not because of her specifically, but it's just kind of funny that almost anything that she's attached to doesn't generally work out for her. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that she has a very wooden acting style, and it just doesn't work. So, the Acolyte spin-off, alright? We've talked about this, about how it is going to be based earlier in the High Republic rather than later. So, the Acolyte main show takes place later. The Acolyte spin-off takes place way earlier to kind of showcase the origin story of this quote-unquote Jedi God character that's going to serve as this new Chosen One. This just goes to show you that Kathleen Kennedy and Leslye Headland have absolutely no ideas whatsoever for the Star Wars franchise. So guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.